Hello everybody and welcome to another video. I know what you're thinking. Jesus Christ, haven't we already had 3 videos today? Something tells me that there could be something wrong when I don't put up any videos for the weekend and then we get 4 in one day. But this is insane. This is something you guys have to see. This isn't technically spoilers for the patch at all, but it's about something amazing that the devs have really taken a stance on where they're going to move the story in the future. There has been an explosive amount of new story in theory and lore we just got about the world in this most recent patch, and it's all thanks to that shaman who managed to data mine something very interesting from this current client. So this is actually very related to a video I made about 2 years ago around launch. Many of you guys, I would assume, are familiar with this, okay? This is the world of Tyria as we know it in Guild Wars 2, okay? So we've got up here Divinity's Reach, we've got Ratasum and the Grove down here on the Tarnished Coast. This style of map, I believe, may not be the one that's currently in use anymore in the game, but this is the world as we know it, and we can only explore a very small portion of this world. The areas to the north up here, for example, the Isles of Janthir, we barely get to explore. The areas down here to the south, the Fire Island chain, we don't get to explore. But this is our world. And there has always been that question on the players' minds, well, what exists outside of this map? Why don't we get any story or lore outside of what we're currently seeing here? What is to the west, for example, of the Maguma jungle just over here? Well, they're answering that question this patch. To a certain extent, many of us have already known what lies beyond some of these boundaries, because of course in Guild Wars 1 we got to play on 2 other continents. This is Tyria, there was also Cantha and Alona to the south. This next map here is a fan-made map. You actually find this is the default map that comes up on the Guild Wars 1 wiki should you search for anything about the world. So here again is where we're playing in Guild Wars 2. You know, it's a lot more locations are marked off. Up here are the further north areas, the far Shiver Peaks and so forth. But as we move south, we will find some other places. This map, until now really, encompasses pretty much everything we've ever known about this world. Okay, so to the south we've got Alona. None of this has been traversable in Guild Wars 2, but here it is. Istan, where we began a Nightfall campaign. The Battle PvP Isles, and as we move even further south still, the site of the second campaign, Cantha, Guild Wars factions down here. This was the world. To many of us, in the most canon of senses, this is Tyria. However, around launch, as I mentioned, I did a video talking about something very similar to this, about a data mined post that Shaman had put out, where data mined from the Chantry of Secrets in Guild Wars 2, we had found another map. Now this map is what was plastered. It's not technically a map, this is a globe. This was the texture that was used on that giant spinning globe in the Chantry of Secrets. And interestingly enough, for the first time at the launch of Guild Wars 2, we got to see the whole world. This is planet Tyria. Now, the information we could glean from this is very little because it was a very low resolution map. We couldn't get that much information. We could clearly see, if we zoom in far enough though, this is where we're playing Guild Wars 2 at the moment. This is the first map. Down here as we move south, here we have Alona appearing very small on the map, very pixelated. And as we move down even further still, just this chunk of this landmass here is Cantha. So at launch, we did get this massive lore bomb. It showed us not just places we've been to before, the Battle Isles here, but look at all these other crazy environs, these other immense continents, places with all these stories to be told that we had never seen or heard of before. And this was all very exciting at launch, but I, certainly among many other people, I did a whole hour video speculating on the kind of things we could see on this map. But this question always came up is this really the way ArenaNet are showing us their globe? Is this really something that they're going to honor? And that's a really valid question. This was just a small texture that maybe they never expected us to mine out of the client. Surely when they wanted to reveal the world to us and they were willing to commit so heavily to the complete direction their franchise, as long as it stayed on Tyria, was going in, story-wise, they would want to do that in a significant way, right? Were they really going to hold to this? And ever since this was revealed 2 years ago, we haven't heard a single thing about another continent beyond Tyria. We haven't seen any other maps or anything like this. And this was just kind of it. It was up to our speculation as to what to think. Until now, until today. So today, we get to explore the Dermond Priory Library in this patch. And turns out there's a texture you can pull from the Dermond Priory Library. It appears that on the carpet, as you're searching the upper floors of the library, you'll notice you're walking around on a map. So this is this map. This has been data mined now. And what is fascinating about this map is, number one, it adheres to the same conventions we saw all this time ago with the Order of Whispers. But further, it actually has markings on it. For example, here you can see Lion's Arch is marked with this circular dot here, and there are lines on it so as to show perhaps shipping lanes moving to not just Elona, Istan here on Elona, and the Battle Isles and Cantha, but even shipping lanes to places the franchise has never explored before. Another collection of islands here, and even all the way over here, some crazy continent that we know nothing about. So ArenaNet have really in this patch shown that they're willing to dedicate to the lore and the world and give us this further information. What's crazy exciting about this is that there's text on this map. And this is where things are getting kind of crazy. This isn't just random, incomprehensible text, though some of it may seem as such. This can actually be translated. So the largest text that we'll see on this entire map of the world is up here on this large continent, and this here is quite easy to read in New Crichton. This says Tyria. Interesting that the label is placed here in the center of this large landmass rather than all the way down here to the bottom left where we have always considered Tyria. So that could mean that the continent Tyria is in fact this huge entire landmass here. But so this says Tyria and it's quite easy to read. Likewise over here it's a little bit harder across the sea, but this actually says unending ocean. And down here once again some of the other large text also says unending ocean. Even though we've always known that the waters are called the unending ocean, just the fact that they're labeling this up here the unending ocean and this on the other side of the planet also the unending ocean is very interesting. A little disappointing perhaps on one level because it shows the entire world is just like one ocean to these people. We're not going to get different names for different oceans for example. But this is new information we're getting out of the game. And now you may wonder, well, what about these other labels? Well, these are a great deal smaller. Let's zoom in here. Keep zooming. This is one of the labels. This is really garbled. This is really difficult. But because we know that this here says Tyria, and we know that this says Unending Ocean, isn't it possible that this also says something? That this is also legible? Well, I don't pick this one out as a coincidence. I've actually looked at this, and this does definitely say Kryta. Now, it's harder to read, but this still says Kryta. It's such a small resolution texture, and it's in a completely different written language. But if you do spend enough time, you will be able to translate some of this text. I haven't been able to translate everything on this map just yet, but I've translated a reasonable amount. So, you can do various things to help you. For example, here is another version of the map. This is a high contrast version of the map where it was actually a lot easier for me to translate things. So here you can see straight away Tyria is so easier to read. Over here, the Unending Ocean, much easier to read. I'm actually going to put this online on Imgur for you guys because I'm asking for your help. I've translated what I can, and I started with the areas that I knew kind of where we were dealing with. So here's Kryta, and that definitely says Kryta. Here's Ascalon, and it gets very hard to read this. The label itself for Ascalon looks a bit out of place. Ascalon should really be a bit to the north, I suppose. But this does seem to say Ascalon here. Here, as we move closer to Elona, we've got a larger font here that says Elona. This definitely says the Crystal Desert, and the way I've written this text out is it's a little bit separated so you can actually see the sort of shape of the characters. Down here, we've got the Desolation. Over here, we've got Vabi, Corner, Istan. This was very hard to read on this version of the map, but if you apply different filters, you can see a little bit clearer text that appears over the sea. And down here, of course, we have Cantha 2. Unfortunately, this is labeled the Jade Sea all the way down here. I would have thought Cantha, as we knew it, would stop off sort of here to the south. But all this area down here, I was really hoping this label was going to be something new and something interesting we'd never heard of before. But no, it says the Jade Sea, Echovald Forest, Cantha, Kaineng City, a massive garbled mess. This, I believe, says Xingji Isle, though I haven't actually confirmed that, so that's why it doesn't appear there on red just yet. But so those are the areas we know, and now we can have the fascinating task of perhaps translating areas that are not known to us. This one over here, I believe, is Isles of Janthir. So this has been a bit of an undertaking. This is pretty difficult. I wanted to talk about it now with you guys instead of spending hours and hours and hours poring over the map. My work is not complete, but here, if I click next for you guys, you'll see this is my latest version, and what I've written in yellow here is what I believe it to say. Now, I can say with 100% confidence this says the Crystal Desert, even though the text is kind of ambiguous. This is a cursive form of New Crichton, not even a print form of New Crichton. It looks like whoever did this map actually hand wrote out the New Crichton on it. Because, for example, if you have a look, the, what's a good letter? The A here at Crystal Desert, this A, looks nothing like the A in Alona, you see? But we know that this is the same text, or the A over here in Vabi. But we know that it's the same character. And so it's become a real ordeal to basically look over at other areas, such as another one over here I'm very confident in, this stuff up here, and you look at these garbled messes of pixels, and you can compare what this garbled mess of pixels looks like compared to the garbled messes of pixels down here that you've already translated, kind of like a crossword, if that makes sense to you guys. So that's what I'm basing a lot of my translations on, even though it's so difficult to see what they're saying. This one, I believe I'm very confident in, says icy tundra. And that's kind of exciting, you know, it's up there to the north, so that seems like it would make sense that this is an icy tundra. I guess, all things told, because it's actually not the name of a city or anything like that, the excitement is stripped away a little bit. And the more areas you end up translating, you'll see that I've written in the yellow, it seems like this map isn't like an all-knowing map of the world. It's a map that was written by someone in the Dermond Priory who themselves can only guess at what the rest of the world is like. And so instead of having names for many of these continents, they have descriptors. So I think this says arid. The R there is very distinct. The D is pretty distinct. It's either a D or an L. The A over here, most A's at this resolution and using New Crichton in cursive, A's look like E's in the English alphabet. So that kind of, and then that could be an I there. Arid, perhaps. Not all of these I'm confident in, but I want to run these through with you guys because it's so crazy. This, I believe, says howling something. I'm pretty sure the second character here is an R, followed by God knows what. It's very, very difficult, but I'm pretty confident it ends in RLA. So howling something. A good example over here would be another one, forgotten. I'm pretty sure this says, very confident in fact that this says forgotten. But what is it called after? The forgotten cliffs, the forgotten gulls, the forgotten coast. None of those really seem to fit. But the forgotten something, right? We'll go north. This one I'm completely unconfident in. I just went Olympus, sort of, because it vaguely looks like it. Certainly looks like it's O here, M here, with a Y here. So maybe Olympus, I don't know, kind of interesting. Up here, this top word definitely says not, and underneath it starts with an R, definitely seems to end with an L. Not real, maybe? I mean, maybe that's an apt description. Someone in the Dermond Priory believes this whole area of the world is not real. Over here, this looks like it says foundry, but it looks like it's got an extra A there. So foundry with an extra A. Why would there be a foundry here, miles northeast of Tyria? I haven't worked at all, really, on the seas. There's one down here, I believe, is Thunder Coast, however. And largely just very, very crazy stuff. What else haven't I showed you guys? Over here, I believe we have Furious or Curious and Stretch, perhaps, or Trench or Strutch, something like that. I believe the Curious Stretch is probably the best name for this, but I'm not 100% sure, and maybe you guys can contribute to the efforts here. Crazy stuff. Let's move down a little bit. Here we have two very large islands. I mean, geez, these islands are like the size of the playable area for Guild Wars 2 so far. What are they called, though? These, for everything else on the map, they seem to just be descriptors. As far as I can see on this, they're not descriptors and they're actual names of continents. So here we've got Day, as far as I could translate it. Day, it seems pretty clear. And down here, as the best I could get was Kim. I'm definitely not confident in the I or the M here, really. Maybe the I. The K, sorry. The K I'm not very confident in. But like this K, you can look at this character and say, all right, well, I want to compare that to the K in, oh, I don't know, Kaineng City, because that's kind of close. Well, that's a K. The symbol looks kind of similar, right? So this is kind of the way that I've been working. Day and Kim, maybe, perhaps that's something completely different. It's so exciting, though, just the fact that there is all this mind-blowing lore. Down here, I can't even begin to translate these. They just look like garbled messes of text to me. Different filters, though, across the map can help people to different extents, I'm sure, though. Here, what's the name of this place? Surely, if anywhere is going to be really important, it's the ones that they've marked shipping lanes on, correct? So we're looking at this. The Battle Isles is fine, but what about this? This supposed marked place. Up here, got perhaps arid, and then some other location is marked in the sea. I haven't got a translation. Up here is another one I'm very confident in. A lot like the icy tundra. This, I'm almost positive, says wet land. Oh, the excitement I got when I finally managed to translate some of these, get the full words down, was unbelievable. It just clicks and you know what it says. And it's such an effort to get through this, but this is amazing. What a cool way for the devs to give us some of the most cutting-edge lore and tips and hints about the universe, hidden on a map on a carpet somewhere that you have to do all this work to. I'll bet that they believe no one could ever translate any of this. Well, we're making some progress here, guys, and I'm sure many people will correct me on some of the stuff that I've got here, but this has been incredibly fun. A lot of the time, I'm super into the lore and I'm super into the story, but I myself don't get to be at the forefront of some of this stuff, so this just feels so cool. New things that the franchise has never seen before. And yeah, overall it's very exciting. There's a few other details you can glean from the map. Let's go back to the original. Interestingly enough, down here in Cantha, Kaineng City is looking messed up. This is a difference from the version we got in the Order of Whispers, okay? So in the Order of Whispers base at launch, this is what it looked like. And now on their newest version of the map, you can see that there's all these waterways and just destroyed lakes and so forth. Hints perhaps at the deep sea dragon? I would suggest so, right? There haven't been too many other changes here. The waterways in Alona, I believe, are kind of different. Maybe they're just in a little bit more detail now. But it shows, you know, this is proof that there's a giant inland sea here that perhaps we can explore, not even that far away from Ascalon. It's proof, at the very least, that the devs are not going to skimp away from this stuff. What we saw on that map at launch, that's real. That's Tyria, and this is Tyria here too. We, as well as the people in the universe, only seem to be able to speculate at some of these distant lands. But we'll get more translations soon enough and have a richer understanding of what Tyria is now. This is a big day, a very big day. I hope you guys are excited about this as I am. Jump right on in if you want to help with translation efforts. I'll leave a link down to the Reddit post, various maps and stuff. You can dive in. Really, it's as simple as opening up like an image like this. Opening it in Paint is what I did mostly. And then also going out of your way to have like a little window of some new Crichton here. This one actually isn't very useful because this is just the printed text and this is clearly all cursive. But still. And then you just go to town on it. You zoom in until your eyes bleed. And look away for a while. Anyway, thanks very much for watching, guys. Let me know what you think. And I guess I'll see you tomorrow.